It's take 1,315 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. Arukh HaShulchan Yomi should be a schluss for Am Yisrael's fight against the powers of evil. Today we are doing Siman Reish Sif Dalid and embarking on one of the longest Simanim I recall in in Arukh HaShulchan. Siman Reish Aleph, which has 218 Sifim. Okay, we done finish Siman Reish. Dalid. Avar Rabbeinu Makosav Yeshmin Lo Shlevarich Arukh HaTfilah. Even though a woman could be make a bracha before tefillah, the Ramah writes that some say she shouldn't make a bracha afterwards. The Chei Nogim. That's the minhag. So achar tefillah, after she tables, ba'oida medes tochamayim, which is still standing in the water. Mechaseis, that's on the chalukah. She covers herself with a garment or with a robe, and barech she makes a bracha. Kan l'shono. Yesh goes with those who say she said chibuk yadayim. She should clasp herself to interrupt between her heart and her erva v'betochamayim, and while she's in the water, mevarechas, and make the bracha. I'm not sure don't love the cane, but our women nowadays don't do this. Brachas come by mayim sulim. They make a bracha also in clear water as long as their eyes are outside the water. Shach. They don't cover themselves. They don't clasp themselves. Yesh Misraim al said that there's a person one who complained about this. The Trisha. Lemor, and he said, even though there's no issue of liba roa as erva, because as we said in the previous sif, by woman there is no such issue. Since the word is clear, have a comment in some room, it's like she's standing naked. But also, as clear as a shame. Now I mention Shem Hashem was standing naked. That's the Drisha. But Dochel Dvarab, they reject these words. The Shach and the Taz. The other made by my feel tzulim. Something is standing water, even clear water. Ain't no coming in our room is not like you're staying naked. The Maim having kisu, the water is a covering. I feel tzulim even when they are clear. There's no issue of seeing erba. My time also is clear Hashem Kshu Oro, which is the reason why I'm not allowed to mention the name of Hashem when you're naked. Kmosh Kosa Baruch Chaim Shom. Avchein Kosa Rabbeinu Beis Yosef Ragoda Baruch Chaim. Shema Rashba. When the eyes are outside the water, Leikum Shum Erba. There's no issue of Erba and Sham. The dad and Nashim Shalom Minagon Shetobel is Pam Achas Vorchos. The minhag of our women is that they dunk once, make the bracha, and then they dunk again. They would say with this they would say all the opinions. The bracha is both before and after the tefillah. Minhag yafahu. It's a nice minhag. And the brackets, he says, Chen Kosav Ashla, so I guess Abi Kabbalah also it is appropriate to do. Siman Reish Aleph, Dine Mikvos Upir Tehen. The halachas of mikvos and their specifics. Well, I hope by the time we finish the siman, we'll know everything there is to know about mikvah. Aleph, ein anida v'azava olos mitumasa merchitza b'merchad. So anida and azava do not leave their tuma by washing in a bathhouse. I feel all that kol meim shalom, even all the water of the world was spilled over her. Adayin b'tumasa she's still tummy chayav l'mishkaris and personalized relation to his chayav kares. Actually, tipo kogufa ba'asachas and shilti toivels her entire body. At one time, it made mikvah in the water of a mikvah. Oh, mayim sheyesh b'ayim arbaim so mayim, or a spring which has 40 saw of water. Either one, mikvah or mayim, which has 40 saw of water. But shuram, and the shear for this is Amma al shmum shlosh amos. 1 amma by 1 amma by 3 amos height bimruba in a rectangular shape. But amma bas above tvachim b'chatzi etzba. And this is an amma which is 6 tvachim and half an etzba to cover the gap between the fingers. If it's wider and that's not as high, it's kosher. It's kosher if you can cover a whole body at one time. And it has to come out in division. Mem Dalad Elef 44,000 V'Kuf Yud Ches and 118 etzbos, finger breadths, etzba agoda in by the breadth of the thumb. And besides that, another half an etzba. Kenkas Rabbeinu Beis Yosef B'Sif Aleph. Base. of course, all over the Shas, the meaning of Amma is 6 Tvachim. Zeshosam the Chatzi Etzba, that which you had to have a finger, which in the Beresh is Ermin, because being Ermin Amiran, Sheish Amos Mitzomos, it says that they're narrow Amos, and the Yesh Amos Tokos, and they're Amos which are happy Amos, smiling Amos. Klamar Muvachos, meaning they're expansive. Ayin Sham. Pichok Machamina by Issachar, therefore you're Machir by the Issachar, Nida Lahosi Chatzi Etzba, to have a half an Etzba. The Shema Nimdodos Some Tzumtzamos, because maybe we'll be too constricted in our measurements. So, according to this Cheshbon, mitosef is chatzi etzba, by adding the half an etzba. Ola shir etzbos k'sheni's bar. From that we got the shir of the etzbos in the previous sif. Uk'shenifchos chatzi etzba. If we take away that half etzba finger, yeshir etzbos, and the measure of the fingers is only rak mem aleph elef 41,000. The tough iron beis etzbos and 472 etzbos, which is almost 3,000 less than the Simon Aleph. Sivav. Gimel Shir Amal Amal Rum Shal Shamos Lefi Midas Midas Saint Russia. This year, according to the in Russia, it's Shlosheve Arshin al Shlosheve Arshin. Berum Shtei Arshin. Bedal Vierskes. Whatever that is. The Kvar Biarnu Cheshem Mishpat Simon Reishut Ches the Dal Amos Gemara, the 4 Amos in which mention Gemara who Gimel Arshin Shalonu. It's 6 of Arshim Nikros Sazen, a klopter bil shonenu. It's called Sazen or klopter. The Amos Gemara Shishat Fachim. The Amos Gemara 6 Fachim. Kol Teva Ushnei Viruskis Nimtza. The Amma who Yud Beis Viruskis. The Amma is 12 Viruskis. Arshin Shalonu Tes Zayin Viruskis. And our shin is for 16 havarikis. And Ashur Mishtavim, and of the shur measure up. The Gemara Arba Amos have a Mokum Chashuv, but in the Gemara 4 Amos is considered to be a significant place. Let's say Suzan, who meet a Gdol Chashuv. Suzan is a significant and large measure. L'chein Alpayim Mamash Meshmos Suzanis. For 2,000 amos, which are 500 suzanis, same parsa, the Senu, they are the parsa in our country. Shekorin versed. V'utchum Shabbos, that's the Chum Shabbos. So Malchus Mishares, Midas Gova, Sha'odem Benoni, Shnei Arshin, Vidal Vireskis. The average person's height is that's what a person's height is. V'zeu Sholosh Amos, and that's 3 amos. We go by Mikvah, Kagova Adam. And the Mikvah like the height of a person. So it seems that the custom for a mikveh is to have 200 gallons of water inside for a minimum shifra, not a minimum, the prevalent shifra mikveh. The minimum seems to be about 120 gallons, and there was a shita of even 85 gallons of Rabbi David Miller, who's was an early rabbi in California. Talmud Slobodka put out a book, The Secret of a Jew, in which he tried to encourage people to build mikvos inside their houses, and he believed that city water is considered to be kosher for mikvah. So he took the share of 85 gallons, which I guess is the most share on record for that. Be that as it may, that is evidently. So I don't know how the Arukh HaShulchan shirim work out because he's giving measurements of length and width, but in gallons, that's what it works out to be. You should know the height of person 3 amos kemucham bigova shir mikvah. It's obviously the height of a mikvah. It's bearing gufa shalosh amos. The body is 3 amos. That's why that's a shear to dunk. But I say by Tosus they wrote in several places. Places have a shalosh amos. No, that to shows a person's 3 amos. To have the sagi gova mikvah shalosh amos, and that which is enough to have a mikvah 3 amos tall. Because it goes in the water displaces and rises. Ayin Sham. It's interesting that we don't, even though we know women are shorter than men, this doesn't be taken into account here. The Rashman writes that a mace from head to toe is 3 amos. The Bartanura paired out the Erevin Mishnah Hay. Ayin Sham. Chenkosu arrived at Torah's Kohanim Parsha Mitzorah. For Bamba Basasham. Va'orach va'rochav Amma. and that which is the length and width being an amma. Avgav the meaning amma so normally gavra ba'amsa yosif. A person sits on in an area the size of amma zok shalovash mabushav. In other words, how can he fit into the mikvah if he's an amma by an amma? That's his word in the closing. But he was naked again. We're not taking on the difference between men and women here. But he's naked. Who pachas me amma? It's less than amma. V'yochel he can't meshach amma and can fit into a mikvah which is an amma by an amma. V'amakom sheba mayim yosagov and mishlosh amos. The place where water has to be higher than 3 amos. The low can't, because otherwise should kones v'yalu mayim mitzu lachutz v'yechsar. Otherwise, if it's going to when you go in, it's going to get displaced over the sides, and you won't have a proper shear. There are those who are concerned also by a large mikvah. So that the water should not reach the rim of the mikvah. Mikvah water only works when it's stationary. If the water can displaced over top when it is. When the person enters the mikveh, perhaps that is considered to be zochlin, moving water, which doesn't work. These brother common is going to be explained much later in Sif Kufpei Hey. Bracket says here, Ramban the Ramban Osviamus is the total height, not to the shoulders. Hey, Hanida Bazava Entry My Chaim, Dynamayan. Hanida and Zava do not require spring water. Even a mikvah of rainwater suffices. Time of the zav per gimel. Chomer zav zava, a severity by a male zav over a female zav. Zav tol mayim chaim. A zav has to go to the mikvah in spring water. You see, like it says, "V'chatz b'soro b'mayim, mayim chaim v'toher." Also, it says he has to rinse his flesh in mayim chaim, live water, which means spring water, and then he's tohar. Vayikot tezvav gimel. Azava ain't to tuna mayim chaim. Azava does not require mayim chaim. Does not require the spring water. Ayin sham. See there, the menida. Benida. See, it says in all her issues, but chatz mamayim, rinse in the water. The low ksiv of Mayim Chaim never says Mayim Chaim. But it says later, if she becomes pure from her ziva, it's going what it says previously, Barachatz B'Mayim. V'chol Tmeim lo b'ina Mayim Chaim rak v'zav bilvad. No Tmeim require Mayim Chaim, only a zav. The Torah is konim parshas mitzvah Barachatz B'Mayim b'mei mikveh ayin sham. V'minayin lo manu shir zeh. Where do we learn the shir? Of an amma by 3 amos. Kach doshura b'Torah's konim parshas mitzvah. They learned it out from the pasuk in parshas mitzvah. B'chatz b'mayim es kol b'saro. You should rinse in water all his flesh. Mayim shekol b'saro leben. Water in which all his flesh can be covered. Kamayin, how is that? Just that? One by 1 by 3. Then says that to Omer shir mikvar b'ayim saw. So it comes down to measure mikvahs 40 saw. Akan l'shono. End quote from the Torah's konim. I'm sorry. But when you say before from here, it's clear the shir is that who mean Torah mamash. The shir is literally deraisa. And that which you find that in the several places in the shas that ma'ash kol gufa lebehen, the water which covers the entire body. But comment how much that amma bro shlosh amos 1 by 1 by 3. But shiru chachamim shir mikvar b'ayim son, and the chachamim estimated that mikvah should 40 saw. Only toshes them rabbanon. Do not think this is rabbanon. Because it says chachamim reckon this. Because every Rivash v'zel shona, the Rivash writes, because I mean that it's supposed to be the Raisa. Chachamim shiru ashama amarum shlosh amos same arboim saw. Chachamim made this reckoning, even though it's the Raisa. But this, in order to this be a mikvah in any scenario which you can imagine. This depiction, this cavity, I don't know what you want to call it. Literally, it says here, pictures. It has to be full. In any other scenario, maybe that's the best word. As long as that 40 saw, it's enough. As much as it requires for a person who's traveling to get cover his entire body of water once. Chachamim had a masor for this, But Mahalacha she's seen that just learn from Halacha Moshe. We've seen that Shachiluk Subatorah Hiksais at the minimum share of eating the Torah is Hiksais. So they had a Masorah about 40 saw. End quote from the Rivash. Midvar Lamana, from his words we learned Shazeshu Tzuchul Amar V'Shiru Chachamim. That was as they said the Chachamim made the estimate. Chachamim just means to say. Shalotamar don't say that Torah Chiva Shetia Mikra Rak B'Tunazu Amal Amabrum Shalosh Amos. The Torah said it has to be 1 by 1 by 3. Must be that way. El Hefek on the contrary. Torah Chiva Shia Marbaim Sa. 1 by 1 by 3 is a gilui that it's 40. It's a simon. It's a sign that it's 40 saw. I have it in whatever measure and scenario shirts you want. Actually, as long as the entire body is covered. But yeah, in other words, it shouldn't be shallow and long or whatever, so it won't cover the body. But the Torah tells us in Halacha Moshe Sinai, Sharaboim saw al Tmuna Zu, 40 saw in this scenario, Yamal Amma Barom Shal Shamas is 1 by 1 by 3. Brackets he says Gamash Amrucha B'Menachos Kuf Gimel Kol Shirei Chachamim Kain Hu Arbaim So Toivel. It says Shirei Chachamim. This is also what it means to say Shirei Chachamim Shekibul Amoch Lamosh Sinai Kish Kain Hu. That's the shir which happens in the Mesorah. The Aretz Shitas, a famous Shitas of Taisvis, I mean the rice, any water in the ground is Matar. And Afghan is, of course, for something like kalim, which are much smaller than our boim saw. But the Arukh HaShulchan is clearly going to Boskin hold that 40 saw is essential for the mikveh to be kosher. The rice. Zayin. Shanim Torah's Kohanim Parshas Mini. We learned it called Torah's Kohanim. Imam Mayan B'Tar B'Zochlan, just like if maybe we'll say just like a spring makes something tar even if it's flowing. So the mikvah is matar even if it's flowing. Tamulomer ach mayon. There says only a mayon. A mayon matar b'zochlin. A mayon is matar even if it's moving. A mikvah v'ashboren, and a mikvah only when it's stationary. Akal shono. But halacha psuki b'chol shas, it is determined halacha in all of the Gemara. The mayon matar b'zochlin, that a spring is matar even if it's moving. Kamash hamayim nozlim v'nim shachim, the water is flows and moves. Mikvah only when there's boring klomar nikvim, they're collected v'omdim and standing in makom echad in one place. Not that they should be flowing and drawing. Therefore there are cracks in the walls of mikvah. Shamayim is from which the water seeps out. Psula mikvah, the mikvah is possible. We shall see. Near Milosha Torah's Kohanim, the Mayam Pshita the Shematar B'Zochlin. It seems the language of the Torah's Kohanim that it's simple to say that a spring is matar even if it's moving. But the reason is obvious. Sharei Kenu Abriya. That's the nature of creation. The Mayonos Kamo Kol Naros Shem Shali Mayonos. Sharei Kenu Abriya Dim Mayonos. That's the way manos are created. It's like any river which emerges from the spring. But a mikvah, rainwater, they don't naturally flow. They naturally collect. However, a spring also is matar if it's the water stationary. Because a lot of my springs which don't move, they don't create rivers. They stand in one place. Like wells which are dug into the ground, water stands in one place. So therefore, a spring works even if it's moving or stationary. And seeing that the psul of Zochlin in mikvah is the raisa, came the shilon because it's not a pasuk. It seems to be case entire shas. It's not midrabanan. That's marai is chumas adeshin. But Rabbeinu says to see God outside dying, but even Mordechai. But he says once for the Mordechai the sfilei should rabbanan. Holds it's only the rabbanan. Akra Torah's Kohanim, and the pasuk brought up in Torah's Kohanim was a smachta ba'amo. It's just a mnemonic device or a rabbinic linkage, which is not a true drasha. Midakasa Mordechai Perek Vav the Shabbos, because Mordechai writes Lian Tefillah Benaros in terms of tabling rivers. The Aser Be'ez Itim is Aser sometimes a year. Kamoshi is Baral, as we shall see. Mechashasha, because of the suspicion, Shemi Yerbu makes sure there be more rainwater than spring water. famous from Schila, and rivers move, flow when you're not allowed to toivel in flowing rainwater. Because about that, and he writes in the She'en Otzi Laz al Toivlim, you don't have to, you should not tell, cast aspersion on those who do toivel in the rivers, the Chashosh Rabbanu, because it's a rabbinic concern. Ein Sham. So now here, like he holds that the idea of Zochlin is only Mirabban, the parameter Zochlin, the Rabban. For I see love, they already rejected this, the Ramah and the Bach. The body is in the third is the Raisa. But the concern, having the Rabban, is a rabbinic concern. The Raisa, we're not concerned that maybe there'll be more rainwater. That's the primary interpretation. It's not like somebody saw make an effort to prove that Zochlin is an issue, a rabbinic issue. Therefore, if you have a suffix by flowing in the mikvah, it's a suffix deraisa, and you have to be machmir. Test od isod shov. It also says there the mayin matar b'choshu. A mayin is matar no matter how small it is. By mikvah, by son of mikvah 40 saw. Here's a plug of the Ravasa. There's a machlekes among the greats. Torah says af im tidbo b'mayin so shebo amorim saw. Even she tells them in a spring it needs 40 saw. I forgot the mayin matar b'choshu. Even though spring is matar, no matter how little. That's only for kelim. Adam, I'll be shukotan, but a person, even though he's smaller. In which you can use less, he can be covered in less water. Nevertheless, ain't feel the feel is not effective. Eli and Cain here by himself unless it's 40 saw. For Rambam, a Ravid, Kosudaf, other Matar b'mayim choshu. Rambam and Ravid say that no, in a mine on a spring, even a press green Matar, no matter how little there is, because of Kisvar Shona, the Nazir Lam says, like the first opinion, that for Tfilas Adam, a mine also needs 40 saw. Ulazei Skima Doni Avi Arosh Zal. I said the two of my father Rosh agreed with this. That is the default position taken by the Shulchan Aruch and Sif Aleph. For low review, Cloud Asa Mechilim, and they didn't bring down the opinion of those leaders at all.